Kamen Rider Geats has now come into its second episode, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised with the way that it was, how it was shot, and especially how it made me kind of feel. Now, there are a lot of things that I do want to point out in this episode, which I think could have been done a lot better, but we'll get to that as we go through the review. So we open up with Ace. This is the main Kamen Rider Geats. Now we know previously he won the last kind of major big mission type thing. So his wish was to be popular and famous. So therefore that's what he is. So he is able to kind of, be around people. People love him. People want to shower him with affection. But we get the point where now it's a new game. Now I generally kind of thought that it would be the start. This would be game one, and thus therefore the mission would be all completely done, but it absolutely wasn't, and that's what kind of made me go, huh, that's slightly a bit different. Now he is pretty arrogant, and I don't mind this. It kind of suits the character, but for me it's one of those things that's really going to kind of get on my nerves quite quickly. So Sakurai is back. He remembers everything that's going on because obviously he has the desire driver around him, and he has his thing. Now I generally kind of thought that he was the panda bear one, and I was like, oh, I really hope he's not. But he's actually a raccoon, which I didn't realize. So that was what I said in the previous review. But I kind of like his suit, but I think his helmet with his ears, they've just literally stuck something on. And I think that if they molded it into the helmet, it would look 10 times better, and it kind of looks a bit kind of off. But before we see the actual what the costume looks like or whatever he is like, we get the fact that he is now back in the realm with everybody, and he is basically being told that this is a thing that they need to do, and they get like a wish if they complete and actually get the mission, etc, etc. And I kind of really like this. We know that he's the sort of guy that would be like, hey, I want world peace, and I want this, and I want that. I don't want anything for myself, which again is fine, but I feel like that is going to kind of be a major big thing later on down the line that will corrupt him. We've already seen it happen in the first episode where he was this happy, like, yay type guy, to the point where he's just like, I just don't care about this anymore. So kind of seeing this and seeing if he's going to keep his wish, what he wants originally, that's one thing that I'm more kind of interested in seeing. And one thing that I really wanted more than anything was seeing the old woman that we saw previously actually get quite far, but she gets knocked out quite quickly, and I feel like that's quite a bad thing. Or the fact is they just had loads of toys and went, here you go guys, and they went, yeah, let's use that. So effectively you don't see most of them transform, which I think would be really cool if they did. We're now seeing the intro, and when I saw it I was like, I recognize this song somewhere. So I kind of did a little bit of like thinking, which one does it remind me of? It reminds me of the League of Legends song, the one that's like the K.DA Pop Stars one. And I kind of was like, oh, this tune sounds it. But I've heard the singing somewhere before, which kind of threw me. But do I like the intro? Yeah. I always think that Kamen Rider intros go way above and beyond more than anything that I've seen. And I'm here for it. I absolutely think this is fantastic. So seeing this kind of new intro to the point where you've got Ace just tied up with barbed wire, I'm just like, who on the drawing board goes, do you know what, guys? Let's get this guy in barbed wire. I think that's going to be the main thing. And you're like, what? Oh, okay. Previously, we didn't know what the bad guys' names were. They didn't really kind of say anything. Or if they did, I completely missed it. But they're Jamatos. I think the name rings a bell now saying it out loud. And they are basically the minions of the main bad guys of the series. There are going to be bosses, which we see in this episode, and we have them looking like the Silence from Doctor Who, which again looks a bit weird. But we find out, and again, now just reading my script, we're saying like when the match is over, everyone loses their memories bar people that put on the drivers. Kind of reminds me of the Silence from Doctor Who. I think Kamen Rider or Toei were like, do you know what, boys? Let's do the Silence from Doctor Who. That would be a very good one. It just completely makes me go, yeah. Connecting the dots now. It now becomes like a massive free-for-all for everyone. Everyone has to defeat the Jamatos. The Jamatos actually have kind of loot crates on them, or loot boxes. So once they've been pushed over or hurt, they drop this box, and each inside is like a drive or whatever it is to kind of add on to the actual belt to actually give them certain powers or certain power-ups depending on what they want to do. Now, with Ace, he gets a water pistol version, like a water one, which when I firstly saw it, I was like, why does this remind me of Super Soaker? And obviously it has the same power. It needs a lot more water to kind of like blast the bad guys away, because it just literally is a water pistol. So kind of seeing all of this made me go, okay, I kind of like it. Other people get different ones, and even Sakurai, he gets the dual boost mode thing, which I generally was like, oh, I thought that might stick with Ace. I generally thought all his main things like the Magnum, the boost parts would stay with him, but no, it's like literally all the bad guys have them. They have to drop them, so that's when everyone can use them. And we find the boost one later on is actually a one-piece shot weapon, which is fine. I'm okay for that one. But all the rest of them, mainly once I think you've got them for that match or something, you can actually use them. And we do see much more different versions of it a little bit later on. Now, one of the big main things in this entire episode is the fact that Sakurai and the interviewer from episode 1 kind of form this bond. And this is the one thing that really gets me all the way through, because you have this emotional build up all the way through to be like, oh, this is really cool. Yay. Like, you know, they're meant to make you feel it. And it's like, oh my God, yay. But with the connection and the actual interviewer dying much later on in the episode, I generally was just like, what? This should have been a thing that carried on for such a long time, near the end, halfway through, to actually be like, oh my God, we formed this bond. You've got this job. You're amazing. You know, we're comrades. We're fine. But then all of a sudden just kind of taking it away and going like, oh, my family, because that's what the interviewer is for. He just wants to save his family, is mainly his son, who is ill. And I generally thought this would be a really cool build up, but you've just literally just shot it off in one go. Now, I don't know if this guy was contracted for maybe 1 or 2 episodes, but to build up that kind of level of trust and for the audience to go, okay, I generally really like this, you think, shit, that's what I want. But no, it was dropped really quickly. I do think that this entire series is going to try and build on emotions, but when you see it kind of like squandered really quickly, you don't really want to kind of see it, and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of really hate this type thing. One character that I don't really like is Kamen Rider Buffalo, because I think he's a bit of a prick, just because of the way that he speaks, the way that he is with other people, just makes me go, oh, I don't want this, like, get rid of him straight away. If he goes in the next couple of episodes or near the end, I don't think I'm going to be that kind of yay on it. I'm going to be like, cool, get rid of him. I don't like him anyway. Tosmori, I hope I got a name right, is basically the person that gives everyone their powers. And one thing I did like in this is when she actually says, like, oh, there's an emergency, everybody has to kind of do it, your life will be formatted, basically giving up your life. She actually does, I think, probably the first Kamen Rider pose, and then she actually makes everybody transform, which I think is going to be a very interesting thing, because if she has the ability to make everybody transform, does she have the ability to make them transform, demorph, or whatever it is, to actually go back and stop them from morphing? And could this lead into something else, into another video, which I'm going to talk about? But seeing that, I think she's the main bad. I think that she is the person behind this, that she is basically covering for someone else. And it's going to be one of those things when you get like halfway through the season, near the end, and they're like, oh my God, what are you going to do? And she's like, it was me all along. And then just takes their powers, and then obviously they've got to build them up. That's my kind of thought. I'll make a video on this much more later on in depth, talking about it and kind of going in there. But for what I kind of saw, I generally thought there was something a bit weird about her straight away. So now that you've got the characters kind of all morphed, fighting, going off, Sakurai was one of the characters that does really annoy me. I'm not a big fan of him always hiding. I generally thought, oh, you're going to be the sort of person that is going to be kind of like, I'm going to fight no matter what. Not, oh, I can't really fight. I can't really do anything. I'm going to hide. I really don't like this sort of trait. Now, one thing I will say is I generally thought that with Geats, him having Magnum, having this powered up boost mode, that was going to be his main thing that he gets all the time. But seeing as we've had it in kind of crates that other people can get them, having the white armor on most characters is really, really nice. And I'm wondering what sort of power-ups are we going to have? Is Geats going to be getting these sorts of add-ons all the time? Or is it just literally him holding on to certain ones later on? Will he be granted these powers later? I have no idea right now. But seeing that other people can get the same powers that he has from episode 1, I generally do kind of like it. Now this does kind of lead into one of the things I really don't like about Sakurai at the moment. So obviously he's built up this bond and he's obviously very gullible. Geats convince him to give him the boost element so that he can use it, and thus therefore says, hey, you're really gullible, and that's your kind of your low point, that's your bad point that I kind of see. And I kind of thought about this, and I was like, actually, no, yeah, it's right. You know, any sad story like, oh, I'm doing this for the kids, or I'm doing this for my family, or I'm doing this for my friend, could really get to him, and other people could actually use this against him to actually go, oh, you've got the best power up. Can I have it because I want to do whatever I want to do? And I was generally kind of thinking, is this going to be a generic thing all along, or is Sakurai going to learn to grow up and be like, actually, no, I'm not going to let people take me for advantage? And I think if you were going to work on that bond with the interviewer, I think having Sakurai kick the crap out of the main Yamato boss would have been the best option to show that he is stronger, that he's not going to be easily manipulated, and he wants his friends to survive. So kind of seeing this, and I did like the fact that Ace turns around and says, hey, thanks for the boost, I manipulated you to giving me your piece. That's what the fox does. We're manipulative, we lie, we do this to get what we want. And I was like, that's really cool, because from what you hear of foxes in that sort of element of stories, yes it is. So coming to the close, when everyone kind of like dissipates, Ace actually goes to the hospital and gives a lot of money to the hospital so that the kid of the interviewer can survive. And I generally kind of like this, and I really wanted more. And I kind of see that even though Ace is going to be a bit of a prick, he's going to actually like jump in and be like, hey, guess what? This is the main thing. I'm a nice guy. I'm going to make sure that everyone is looked after. Or he's just done it as a favor because he tricked Sakurai. And that's one thing that I kind of really want to see. And maybe this is the reason why I kind of want to see the series, because I want to see how it all finishes. But yeah, episode wasn't that bad. I think there's a lot more to it. We're only on episode 2. We've got an entire year effectively of this, and it's going to be very interesting, and I hope it's going to hold my attention, that I just don't go, sorry guys, this is the last episode review, or I just drop it completely. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this? Do you like Kamen Rider Geats? Are you excited about it? Do you want to see where it's going for? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you like this sort of content and you want to hear and see more, hit like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. And with that, I'm going to leave it there. See ya.
チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとうございます。チャンネル登録、高評価お願いします。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができます。